So when I was homeless, my brother said, why don't you go ask the coach if they let you live there? And I said, you think they'll let me live there? And it was only him and his mom living together. And I went and I knocked the door. I still had the black guy here. And I said, hey, is it okay if I, I told them the situation. And I said, is it okay if I can stay with you guys for a little bit? I was so embarrassed because I would never ask for help. And they said, look, you can come, you can live here. You don't have to pay rent because I know you don't have a job right now. Just help me clean, but come with me to church. And they gave me a Bible, a blue Bible. And he says, this is your sword, he told me. And I was like, for me, I was like, yeah. I was just saying yes. But sure. So I just wanted to shower in the place, I just wanted to be in a comfortable place. And that's how it started. But even living there, I got into witchcraft. I got into different religions.
What's the guy's name? Coach's
name?
Eddie
Cesena. And he would take me to church.
Yeah.
I would go to church, but because I had told him that I was going to go to church. But going to church 7 months in, I was very rebellious, because just because you go to church, it doesn't mean that you're already done. I was still going through, imagine all the stuff I went through, right? So I was sitting down in the church and then I was just crossing my arms. I didn't want to be part of none of that. I would mock the people that would scream, that would fall. I'd be like, why is people screaming? Like, why are you over here like crying? Like, they can't they do it? Like, but I was having these internal talks. I never went to the altar or none of that. And so, living with this lady, I would go back home and she would read the Bible every day. She would read the Bible, Pastor, every single day. And she would talk to me about Corinthians, that love is patient, right? Love is kind. And she would do it in a way that I would get annoyed, because she would tell me, you need to forgive your dad. And I said, I'm not going to forgive my dad. Like, you guys are dumb. You Christian people, you guys think that just because you say that, things are going to change. You don't know my dad. My dad is never going to change. Like, my dad he's not going to change. This works for people, but my dad, this is not going to work for my dad. You don't know my dad. And I would get in fights with her. And the next morning, otra vez, she would pull up with the Bible. And she literally discipled me in the love of God. Like, I didn't know what that love was. Like, even though I was mad, she would come back again. And she would be, love can do it all, in Spanish. And I would just be like, so irritated. And every night, I would come back on the sun bus. Oh, man, it touches me, because that lady, she was so persistent with me. She didn't give up on me. She would wait in the table 11 in the night. She had to work really early in the morning. And she would read Proverbs with me. She would sit down, and I'd be like getting intentionally home late so she can go to sleep. But she was up.
She'd waiting like, for you
mijo,
to read
siéntate,
Proverbs.
Mijo. And then she would read the Bible, just be like, bro, like, stop, But like, the love of God was just boom, boom. And I'll tell you this, that
cool.
She would say, forgive your dad. And I said, I'm not going to forgive my dad. He needs to come forgive me. He hit me. He's the older one. Brother, I was already going to church. I was already feeling the peace. I was already feeling joy. But every time they talked to me about my dad, I would lose my joy. I would get, my stomach would get weird, like I would go on about my life. I wouldn't talk to my dad. We hadn't talked for years, for months, I'm sorry. And when they would talk to me about Father's Day or something, my stomach would get really uncomfortable. I just get really nervous, uncomfortable. And that lady kept pushing on me. You need to ask for forgiveness. You need to go ask your dad for forgiveness. And I don't know how she convinced me, but I went to ask my dad for forgiveness. And I remember him coming from work, checking the mail, and I was so awkward about it, because I remember I was the same as my dad. I was so awkward. I didn't know how to. I wasn't functional. I didn't know what functional love was. I was just really awkward.
And you had not talked to your dad since that last time.
Yeah.
How long had that been? What
it
was
like
the
7 months. It was like about 7 months
7 months.
since he kicked me out. And then I remember I went to him and I said in Spanish, I said, "Apá, perdóneme." Like, still with like a little, like a little poison to it, like a little pride. I said, "Forgive me," And he says, "I told you that you're dead to me. Get out of my house, man. Get out of here. Because if I had a gun, I would kill you right now."
Your dad said that?
Tell me that, bro. I went home to that lady and I told you it doesn't work. It doesn't work to be like that. That doesn't matter. Like, whatever you tell me. And she would tell me again, brother. As true as God lives. She said, Love is patient. Love is kind. You need to forgive him. She would tell me, like, she would persist so much in that. And then 3 months yet again, I would go again. And then I said again, Pa, perdóneme. And he would just be like, he wouldn't say anything. He would go back inside. In a year, I went 7 times. In a year. And it was getting easier. Like, I didn't feel weird anymore. It didn't feel weird anymore.
Dang,
like, and so the more I went, and then until one time I just told my dad, I said, look, Dad, like, if you don't forgive me, I'm going to come back again tomorrow. Like, my dad had diabetes. Because I don't want nothing to happen to you, and me knowing that I didn't forgive you, or I want you to know I forgive you. And I never forget that one time that my dad, he just looked down, but he didn't say anything. He just looked down, and he walked back inside. But I didn't feel nothing anymore. Like my heart was being healed.
Yeah.
And one day I get a call. After the 7th time I went, right? I get a call from my older brother. And he says, my dad wants to meet up with you. My dad wants to talk to you. And I got scared. I was like, my dad was crazy, brother. He was crazy. Like, I thought this guy's probably going to kill me or something over here. Because he met us in a ranch over there. And he booked an appointment that he wanted to talk to me specifically in a ranch out there in the middle of nowhere. Like, bro, why are you doing this? I was telling my brother, why, bro? Like, but I went. I still went because I love my dad. Even though I hated him, I loved him, you know, and I
wanted to reconcile.
I did. Yeah. Because I already was learning the word. So it was already, my nature was already being impacted without me knowing it. And so I went, and I remember my dad, you know, he got off his car, and me and my brother came from his car, and we got off, and he was on that side, I was on this side. And you know, like those movies, like the cowboy movies that you kind of like you got that little
showdown. So
kind of like I was
tumbleweeds.
I feared my dad. I feared him, you know, even though it didn't seem like it, but I was scared of my dad. And I remember my legs shaking, and he was walking towards me, and I was just walking towards him, you know, and I didn't know what he was gonna do. I didn't know what he was going to say. And he just got shoulder to shoulder to me. And he put his hand in my shoulder really, really hard. He just like, bah. He says, forgive me. He says, forgive me. And he hugged me.
Wow.
And when he hugged me, Pastor, I felt like I was a little kid. Like I everything I went through, it didn't matter. He just said, every day I prayed to God that you were okay. And I thought my dad didn't love me. I thought he didn't care about me. And we cried for like 5 minutes. And I remember how he left my shirt. I never see my dad cry. I would never see my dad cry. And when he was hugging me, he was hugging me so tight. And he says, I always prayed for you, that God will protect you, he told me. And I thought my dad hated me. And he says, I don't know how to show you that I love you. And he just broke, and he broke.
Wow.
And
that's powerful.
He told me further from that was the beginning. It wasn't perfect from there. But then he said, if there's a God, I want the God you have.
Wow.